There you are. Oh, I'm so glad to see you again. What do you want to talk about now? Well, I want to talk to you about something, okay? We're talking about a lot of different things, and we're jumping around, I know. We're not going to be talking about any specific area, and we're going to reframe these as they come out. So just be patient, because let me tell you this too. Previously, I had all these things documented and everything, but if you follow my life story, you'll find out why I lost everything and have to keep rebuilding. And even now, we're having a really difficult time getting on the right platform to build these systems. So when I explain these things, we're not always applying it to the technology that we're currently using, but I'm talking in a lot of theories and maybe not direct applications. If you want to talk about direct applications, you might want to follow a series that's going to be coming up called Becoming a Citizen of Centerport. That's where we apply R3 technology to SharePoint specifically, and that's how we're actually going to be building these models. Now, it's going to be hard to understand how we're doing that, but let me talk to you about how do we build these systems, and how do we build an R3? Because an R3 model is, and you can look up topics like cybernetics or systems theory, or I even have some other things written down, complex adaptive systems, or systems science, or information theory. These are all topics that might cover it, but unfortunately I don't have the time to go out and study all these areas. I'm so consumed, and I've been working on this model for so long, I know that it touches in all these areas, but I might not always have the terms that connect with these, and maybe someday people will say, well, this is really what he built, because maybe I didn't always have the right term. All I know is this is the R3 model, and we're using this R3 model to build our systems. And what's nice about using the R3 model to build these systems is that we're coming up with a very universal, something that would probably ISO standard, an ISO standard eventually that could come out of this. They might not take it on like that, but basically a more standardized way for system building, system engineering, if you will. So, how do these systems build themselves, or how do we build these systems? Well, one thing I want to talk to you about is what we call, remember when I said it's fractal in nature, and I know I haven't covered that question yet, but I want you to really understand this. This is a system, this is a behavior. A behavior is just like a system, but it's the smaller component. And when it's fractal, it's like a bunch of these behaviors eventually make up a system. And we won't talk about atomic structuring or anything, but each system is built almost like an atom, and you can see things like certain dynamics similar to molecules and everything. So when you start seeing how this evolves. But I just want to talk to you about two things that we do. We do what's called cubing a system and blocking a behavior. I won't go into details about blocking behavior, but real quick, just for review, blocking a behavior is basically, you know how we said putting the sides and the language around it. Well, it would be put the what, the why, the who, the how, the where, the when, kind of the basics. And in a system, this would manifest itself like the when would be a schedule, the where would be a map, and all of those a how, maybe task list or something like that. And then a why, maybe principles that are governing it or rules. And that's just a side area. Blocking a behavior, cubing a system. Very, very important to understand. Okay, now this is where it gets real fun. Because, well, let me just show this to you too. Each one of these things in your system model, when you have your system, each one of these things, these blocks are a system in your either whether you're a personal R3 or a system R3, or I'm in a community size. This is a system, basically. I know you go smaller, it's a behavior, but basically you have 27 systems. Like for instance, you have a mental system, you have a social system, your own system of how you govern these. These could be considered as departments in your area, departments in your business or whatever. You would have 27 unique departments. Okay, now this is really cool, and this is really what I want to talk to you about. How do you build these systems? Well, you build a system by starting off with what's called a core behavior. A core behavior is building the subject, or the X subject, subject X, X, sorry, I'm a little okay, X, Y, and Z, basically. You know, like your X, Y, and Z, okay, of a cube, right? X, Y, and Z, X, Y, and Z, right, like that, okay? So when you have a core behavior, you're actually defining, an R3 would define your X, Y, and Z. My X, Y, and Z, I'm Tree Breeze, basically. My handle's Tree Breeze. That's an iconic name. I haven't gone over iconic names yet. But Tree Breeze strengthens personalities. And I strengthen personalities by working with the R3 model with people. But my main core, my core verb, if you will, is strengthen. So you have this core behavior, and then you build the system around it, and then every system basically builds from that framework. So, but now when you start building your system out, you actually what you do is you have these, you can call these system fractals or something. I don't really even have a name for these, but they build the system with these. You have the X, Y, and Z, and you actually build your cube this way. And you need 4 of them to build the cube. Very important. And I'm not going to build it in front of you. I have these 3 things, and then it'll actually eventually, this is dangerous, it'll eventually look like this, okay? And how you do that is you put them together like this, and then you take these, and you put them together like so. Okay? Can you see that? Okay. Okay? So you've got, and remember when I talked to you in the other video about tetrahedrons and the biological and technological, these frames work with and bridge together the technological and the biological tetrahedrons. I know this stuff is like, whoa, I know, it's like so much stuff. I don't expect you to get it right now. I expect to just build on these concepts. I'm just firing these concepts out to you, probably doing hundreds of them to you, and eventually you'll start getting it. That's my hope. And then what we'll do is we're going to do these in 365 videos, and then what we'll do is we'll relook at the videos and then redo them, because the course of an R3 goes over R3 cycles, which you don't have to know about, but one of them is a yearly cycle. So we go by a yearly cycle, calendar cycle. Every 365 days, it rebuilds the system. The system rebuilds itself every 365 days. Why? Because humans right now are on that kind of calendar. If we were Mayas, we'd probably be maybe on a 260-day calendar. I don't know. But anyway, so, okay, so where are we? We're kind of well into the time here. What should I tell you about on this area? Okay, so basically, I kind of did a really cool demonstration once in a meeting. Remember when I had said it's the same for an individual as it is for a community? Hopefully you're starting to get that. But when we meet for our community meetings, we have what we call the core team. And I actually had them sit down, that was partly me too, and I said, how can 4 of us form a core team? And we actually, 2 of us sat down, the 2 guys, there's 2 guys and 2 girls, 2 guys of the core team sat there with their legs up, just a minute here, their legs up like this, and then like this. So you had your Y, and then your this. And then the other 2 knelt with their arms out like this. So what we were doing is 2 of us were touching each other's heads, 2 of us were spreading our legs to each other's knees where we were bent down. And that's how we formed, that's actually where we represented these system fractals, whatever you want to call it. But this is how we build our system. This is how we build the cube. I know you're going to have a lot of questions about this, but in a nutshell, it's important that you understand that we're building a framework of how we're building systems, social dynamics, social systems, processes. Everything becomes a standard within the R3 model. So basically how the system evolves, in a core group, you would have 4 in an R3 model. You would have 1, and then you would break it off into 4, and that's the core team. And then you would have representatives from every system. You would have representatives from, we have groups called the triaxis, which represents the X, Y, and Z. And so you have, even your crews in your management of your business become very standardized. I mean, if you could just get your head around that, that your positions in your companies will start lining up to these actual these new system dynamics. And you can almost see this as a new systems theory, if you will. I'm really interested in go back to your friends, tell your friends about this, and then come back and ask me a question about this, and let me know what you think.